For this example, we have to prove that triangle NPZ is congruent to triangle OPX. So NPZ would be just this part of the figure, and OPX would be this, OPX. So as you all know, it would be so much easier if we will draw the triangles outside the entire figure, like perhaps show them outside. So I will draw the two triangles that we want to prove that are congruent, and also the big triangle over there, and later you'll find out why. It's also good that before we begin, we can already mark the parts that are congruent. So in the given, it says PX is congruent to PZ, so this would be PX congruent to PZ. And it also says that angle PNO is congruent to angle PON. So this would be it. So PNO congruent to angle PON. So we can start by already writing down our two-column proof with the given. And then we can already say that so far, based on the two triangles that we drew over here, we have a set or one pair of sides that are congruent. So we still need to prove, or we still need to state that two other angles or two other sides, or an angle or a side, corresponding angles or sides, are congruent for us to be able to prove that the two triangles are congruent. So where do we go next? Inspect the figure and try to see if there's another angle or another pair of sides that are congruent. So maybe you can pause the video and try to locate that one. Okay, correct. So you can actually say that angle P is congruent to angle P, or to be more specific, for our two small triangles, we can say that angle NPZ is congruent to angle OPX. So that's what we can do for our number 2, because it's basically the same angle. So it's this one actually. I'm gonna mark it also here, angle P congruent to angle P, or angle NPZ congruent to angle OPX. So we can simply put angle P congruent to angle P, and of course that would be by reflexive property. So far, just as a recap, we were able to already say or state that these pair of sides are congruent, so we have an S, and then we have two angles that are congruent, so we have an A. So we need another either angle or side that are congruent for us to be able to say that the two triangles are congruent. So what could be our third side, or perhaps third angle? Now, if we are going to go back to our second given, which is angle PNO is congruent to angle PON, so let's look at this part over here, angle PNO congruent to angle PON. From there, what could you possibly come up with? You can pause the video and see if you can think of the same thing as me. Okay, that's right. We can also say that side PN is congruent to side PO, and that would be because of the converse of the isosceles triangle theorem. So here we can also mark it in our figures and write it in our statements in reason. So to recap, we already have one pair of sides that are congruent, another pair of angles that are congruent, and then a third pair of corresponding parts that are congruent, which is this one. So from here, we can already state that triangle NPZ is congruent to triangle OPX, and that would be because of the SAS congruence postulate. So there you have it. Now we were able to prove with just 4 statements that the two triangles are congruent. I think it made a lot of difference when we drew the triangles outside or separately, so that it would be easier for us to see the congruent parts of the two triangles. and of course to think of the reasons why they are congruent based on the given and what we were able to come up from the given. So at this point, I think you need more practice, or you need to practice it on your own. You can go to Schoology for your worksheet number 5. And also, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask help from your teachers. Good luck!